Most chefs use a dial to control the temperature. Here at HUMO, me and my team, we use instinct. We try and work with the fire. We're not in control. My name is Robbie Jameson. This is my guideline to different stages of fire cooking. So the way that we do the menu here at HUMO is breaking down the fire into 4 different stages. First stage is the ignition. So this is the start of the fire. It's that little spark. What we're doing is highlighting on a raw style of cooking. The dish we're going to be using today is the Mediterranean yellowtail. So we are dry aging this. We put it into the dry ager, salt chambers, for 4 to 6 days, depending on the size of the fish. We'll be using a little bit of cedar wood. So you get this, a really, really lovely, fragrant, sweet. This is going to be used to be smoking onto our yellowtail. We're going thin slices here of the belly side of our Mediterranean yellowtail. What's really nice is once you get the dry aging onto fish that has a lot of fat, you see this lovely glisten. So you've reduced all the moisture, intensified all the fat. You've also just softened the texture. Fold the fish into the bowl, and we're going to be making a circle/star shaped pattern. Next stage, this is our sauce for the dish. This is made up of coconut and koji. So the first step, we actually make our own koji in-house. So this is inoculated Minori sushi rice. This is going to bring lots of umami, full of sweetness, that natural umami flavor, which is delicious. Next step, we have fermented yuzu and green chili. So this is just going to bring a little bit of heat, some citrus flavors. Coriander oil, nice herby touch, really help lighten the dish up a little bit. And then one of my favorite fruits, this one is Kisabel apple. So it's a very short season. We only have a couple of months of this in the UK. However, it's very, very fresh, quite a high water content, which means that it's a nice juicy touch for the dish. The last touch, just finishing with some shiso flowers. So from our first step of the menu, the ignition, Mediterranean yellowtail with coconut and lime leaf amazaki, fermented yuzu and chili, with a little bit of coriander and Kisabel apple. Next stage to the fire, the second stage, you have the smoke. This is where a lot of the moisture starts to evaporate, turning into the smoke. This can be quite intense. Depending on the type of wood, I try to still keep that smoke quite delicate. Smoke dish that I'm going to highlight on today is our mushroom dish. Today we're actually using ceps, lion's mane, cauliflower mushroom, and girolles. These are all cooked in a perforated basket directly over the fire. So when you get these little bits of oils and fats that drip down, you get this amazing smoke that comes up through the perforated basket, caramelizes the outside of the mushrooms, full of umami, a little bit of crispy texture. Mushrooms are one of them underrated ingredients, in my opinion, when it comes to barbecuing. Once you start caramelizing and crusting out the edges, it is packed full of umami, almost like eating a full beef steak. We make a lovely circle, leaving a gap in the middle for the sauces. So this is our mushroom and white wine foam. This is then the Arlington white egg yolk sauce. And this next one is the saffron and hazelnut emulsion with a little bit of lime juice. We then finish this with the sobacha. So this is a puffed buckwheat. This is just a little bit of chervil. Chervil is just going to bring some color, a little bit of freshness. And then the very last touch we have, one of my favorite things, is the cured dehydrated egg yolk. Dehydrated fat, I like to call it. And then the very last touch, we have the Spanish winter black truffle. No greater combination than mushroom and truffle. So, second step to the menu, our grilled and smoked mushrooms. So next stage of the fire is the third stage. This is the flame, so the combustion. So after the moisture evaporates, the wood starts to burn. You get this very intense, high heat flame. This is where we actually do shellfish. This is very direct cooking with the fire. This is one of our signature dishes here at HUMO. This is the Orkney hand dive scallop. These are cooked in direct contact with a 50-year-old whiskey barrel coming from Speyside. I've had the pleasure of working with Balvenie and Glenfiddich for the last few years. They send us the whiskey barrels instead of putting them into wood chip and giving them to somebody else. I get them whole. I get the pleasure of lighting them on fire after 50 years. They actually call it aging alcohol. I call it marinating wood. Same for me, but it's such an amazing flavor when you get that direct contact. You get this lovely, lovely sear and this lovely smoke flavor. So this is our sabayon. So this is the sauce that goes with the signature scallop. So this is brown butter, so you got a lovely noisette, a little bit of hazelnut flavor, emulsified into whipped egg. We use a little bit of a -8 white Verjus vinegar, Amalfi lemon zest, really, really punchy, lots of acidity. And then using the same whiskey from the same distillery that sent us the barrels. This here is the whiskey barrel. We have the small chunks heat up over the fire. You see that lovely glow is all the caramelization of the sugars inside of the wood. So this is what's going to create that lovely, lovely caramelization, the smoke in the fire. We go scallop directly in the center. So we're going to take off. We're going to rotate so that we make sure we keep that really, really consistent heat. We go back on with the scallop. So we're gonna be cooking the scallop only on the one side, get lovely, lovely smoke golden color all the way around, leaving the bottom side so you get that lovely soft texture as well as a nice sear. We've now sliced and served with decana pear. We have the poached scallop roe done with a little bit of white pepper, and then we're gonna have a brown butter and whiskey sabayon. I finished off with the leaf of the Sancho pepper, kinomi. This is our Orkney hand-dived scallop, roasted over Balvenie whiskey barrel, served with a brown butter and whiskey sabayon and slices of fresh pear. I wanted to showcase a couple of different styles of cooking directly on the flame. So we have the native lobster coming from the Northwest Highlands in Scotland. This is going to be cooked with Wagyu fat using a technique called a flambadou, a technique that actually dates back to the Middle Ages. It's a cast iron cone that's been heated red hot into the fire, and then we'll ignite fat inside the cone.
So this is our lobster. This is our native blue Scottish lobster. This is from the Western Highlands of Scotland. So I'm going to place this directly on the fire above the hottest point. Got to keep fanning this until it gets as hot as possible. Once this is on, you can't move this. The skin will stick. It'll only release once it's fully cooked. I have our garnish to go with the dish, which is a smoked kohlrabi noodles with a lobster bisque monted in with some cultured butter. We then have some chopped lobster claw as well and some diced shiso to go with that. So now I'm going to rest this over here. We're going to flambadou this with our Wagyu fats. So now we're going to take the flambadou from under the fire. So it should be red hot right now. We're going to add Wagyu fat and glaze the lobster with this. It's always good when that goes well. This is now ready for plating. We will slice this and then serve on the pass.
But then serving at the bottom, this here is kohlrabi noodles. These have been made on a Japanese mandolin, just from fresh kohlrabi. We are then using the lobster claw, cultured butter, a lobster and shiso beurre blanc. The cultured butter we use is actually coming from the Ampersand dairy farm. So it's very mature, quite a cheesy flavor. This here is the foam. This is made from all of the lobster heads. And again, just a little bit more of that cultured butter to help stabilize the foam with fat. Next up, you have the half lobster tail, and then the last touch, our fennel and chancho salad with a little bit of yuzu, some fresh dianthus and tagette flowers, and a lobster head oil. From our third step of the menu, the flame. This is our native lobster from the Northwest Highlands in Scotland, cooked over beech and birchwood and finished with A4 Wagyu fat from a flambadou. Kohlrabi noodles smoked with magnolia leaf, a lobster, shiso and cultured butter beurre blanc, a fennel and chancho salad with the lobster oil. But the fourth stage of the fire is the embers. This is when the flamed wood actually starts to break down. What this means is you've got a lot more access to the glucose and the sugars inside of the wood. We are going to be doing the fallow deer from the New Forest. First step, we're just going to oil up the venison onto the fire. Cooking on the embers like this with the venison is going to create just that lovely, lovely amount of characteristic that you can take from the oak wood. You're also going to get a really, really high temperature, allowing us to get a really aggressive sear without leaving it on the fire for too long. Once you leave it on the fire for too long, you start slow cooking, you're going to have this grey line that goes through. With the reverse sear and the hard end sear at the end, it means that we can get a lovely, lovely golden sear on the outside and still keep very pink in the middle. Next up, we're going to move it to a more gentle barbecue. We're going to add some of our juniper branches into something a little bit more delicate and just slide over and allow it to get that lovely sweet smoke from the juniper branch. We are starting the dish with a barbecued beetroot and cognac puree. It's going to be very earthy. You got a lot of sweetness coming through from the beetroot, as well from the cognac, and a lovely little bit of char that's coming from the barbecue. Next up, we have a tarragon and miso emulsion. This is made from a rare miso called Rocco. This is made up of unroasted barley, the venison itself, and we have casto franco. So this is a bitter leaf salad from the north of Italy, then dusted with a little bit of yuzu, as well as some olive oil and nori powder. Last step, we are finishing with a venison and Madeira wine jus. This is all of the aged venison bones from our chambers, reduced down with Madeira wine, lots of aromats, and lots of herbs. So there we have it, 7-day aged fallow deer from the New Forest. Roasted over juniper branches, finished with a beetroot and cognac puree, tarragon and miso emulsion, and a Madeira and venison jus. On a separate menu, we have our Cinders. The Cinders is the cooling embers, everything after, just before you hit the ash. So this is where we represent our desserts. So we're starting off, this is the Amalfi lemon dish. So the very bottom, we have an olive oil sponge using Italian olive oil. They're gonna have a crumble of sobacha and almonds on the side. We then have a gel that's made from the burnt and smoked lemon peels. My absolute favorite touch, everybody's always surprised. A pesto made from basil, mint and miso. And one of the key elements here, we have an Amalfi lemon curd from cultured butter and all of the juice. And then we're gonna top this with an Italian meringue that's been made from Szechuan pepper. Next touch, from the Japanese coal. We're gonna be burning like a s'more. So toasted meringue from Japanese binchotan. We have a little bit of Mexican lime zest to finish off. We have a lemon verbena ice cream. And there you have it, from our Cinders side of the menu. This is my inspired lemon meringue pie with Amalfi lemons, olive oil, Szechuan pepper, and lemon verbena. What I think everybody seems to forget is that fire is the original source of cooking. Before there was fire, there was no cooking. And I think going back to that, you can extract something that's just really, really pure. You can guide a fire, you can try and nudge it in the direction that you want, but ultimately the fire is alive, it breathes, it eats, it consumes. The sooner that you accept that the fire is really in control, the easier it becomes to cook with it.